Hey besties!
Hey,
Welcome back for another episode of the Hello Bestie podcast. I'm Maggie,
I'm Tashima.
and we're doing our second book club episode.
Welcome.
Woo woo woo! Bum bum bum! So for the month of November, we chose the book *The Fury* by Alex Michaelides.
Yeah.
And to give you guys a little snapshot of it, it is a thriller about a reclusive movie star who invites all of her friends to a private Greek island for Easter, and one of them doesn't make it back.
Yep.
So it's sort of like a whodunit.
Dun dun dun.
Bum bum bum.
Yeah.
All right, teams.
So let's just kick it off. What would you rank this book from 1 to 5 stars?
I would give this book a solid 4 stars.
Okay.
What about you?
I agree. I almost want to say like 4.5.
Okay.
Okay, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself.
Yeah. So you would recommend this book?
I would.
I would recommend this book.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So, we did both do the audiobook.
Correct.
So, Maggie initially wanted to do reading the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was like, oh, look at the time.
I'll say why, because when I heard the clip of the author's voice, I didn't think I could do it for a whole book, but it grew on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was perfect for that narration.
It was a good listen for sure.
It was.
I was just, okay, so we're not going to do this every single time. The purpose of book club is to talk about the book. So
spoilers.
This is full of spoilers.
Yeah.
Let's just, this book club.
Mm-hmm.
The ending just, like each time something would happen and I just felt like I had it figured out and then it just would take this turn.
Yeah.
And it was a journey I enjoyed. Now, there are some times, so I guess to kind of jump ahead, I was a little thrown off when you got to the island, all this stuff happened, and then the narrator went all the way back to the beginning. And at that moment, I was like, wait, what? Like, we're going to do this all over again?
Yeah.
Like, with more detail, and you couldn't have just given that to me in the beginning?
I appreciated the way that it did that. It would have been weird if they would have done it that way.
I know. It just, I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
I've never listened or read a book that literally went all the way back to the beginning of the book and then started over and then filled in all of these pieces. But it needed to happen, and it was really good.
It would make for a good movie because movies and TV shows do that a lot.
It would.
Like, it would take you through a whole day and then it takes you back to the beginning and shows you parts that you didn't see of that same day.
And from different perspectives and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
No, I enjoyed it. So, one of the first things that Elliot talked about was being an unreliable narrator and saying that we're all the most unreliable narrators of our own lives.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that? Did you think that's a true statement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think at first I didn't, like, it was just kind of words. But then as he started interrupting himself and he was like, oh, see, there I go again.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have picked up on what he really, like, I would have just taken it at face value and moved on had he not brought it to our attention almost every time that he did it. And I was like, man, it just seemed normal to be, like, it just seemed like information that I needed to know without really realizing how biased he was being as a narrator.
Right.
So
I love the approach of, like, come sit down and have a drink with me and I'll tell you this story, because the way he spoke to the audience is how it felt, like how you would really speak to someone.
And you could see it.
Yeah.
Like, you could see the people, you could see everything just so clearly. Like, not to compare apples and oranges, these books are nothing like each other, but in terms of the imagery, it gave me very similar imagery to Where the Crawdads Sing, just how good she was with words. Like, when he was talking about, like, the actual fury and the breeze and the air and all of that, like the sand and the island and the difference between the city and the this, like, you really actually felt like you were there. Like, when it started raining, like, you just see, like, picture yourself kind of like running for cover because the rain is falling and all of that stuff, and wishing you had an umbrella. And yeah, it was just, the author did an amazing job, and the narrator did a great job too.
I love the plot twist. So obviously, you know,
huge plot twist,
that someone's gonna die.
Yeah,
and then you find out early. You can pretty much put 2 and 2. It's gonna be Lana.
See, I didn't think so.
See, I thought that it was gonna be her because he started using her in past tense. Like, our relationship was this, and it was. So then I was like, okay, it's gonna be her. So then when it happened, it was like, oh, well, man, why are you telling me already that it's going to be her? And then it wasn't her.
See, when he started talking about her in past tense, I didn't think that that meant that it was her. I thought that was more of like how you would talk about a friend that you had that you're no longer friends with.
Got it.
I didn't, especially with the red scarf, like the whole thing just takes you on this journey that there's no way, without listening to this and not having read it or listened to it,
right,
there's no way that you would be able to predict it.
No, it was crazy how Lana faked her death, basically. And then I was like, okay, well, dang, maybe it's not her. And then it came to the real ending, and you know what I would have liked? Because it went from that, so you know that he basically ended up killing Lana, and then the epilogue is with him, the aftermath of him being in jail. I would have loved to have known, like, give me some of the reaction after you just shot her in the kitchen in front of everyone. I would have loved to have more of that instead of it cutting to him immediately being in jail.
Kind of figuring out what happened to everyone after. Right. That I was missing. Yeah. You know, what happened to everyone.
I also wanted more detail on what was his Barbara West murder, too. Like, it was clear that he did it, but I just would have appreciated more detail. And I assume the reason why he did it was because she treated him like garbage anyway. Yeah. Basically. But
he also thought he was going to be left a little piece of change. Correct. And he wanted her out of the way to be able to, because she tried to sabotage his relationship with Lana. Right. So, yeah. That all played a part. So good. So did you take any... Is there any quotes that kind of stuck out to you?
One of the quotes that I wrote down, I didn't write down the unreliable narrator, but I thought about it, is your truest self is revealed when you don't have to play. Like, basically who you are when you don't have to put on an act in front of anyone, when you don't have to worry about being, you know...
My lashes got cut off.
You know, like on cartoons where people's eyes got big. That's what it looked like. Like, your eyes like filled the lens. Yeah, your truest self is revealed when you don't have to play. Basically, when he mentioned when no one else is around and when you don't have to worry about perception and stuff, that is who you really are. And just thinking how crazy he was to be writing this whole play and to think it's gonna go. That was wild. I can't imagine her reading that and seeing that.
She probably, I don't even know how you could respond.
It worked out in her favor, though, that they had that conversation the night before, so she could attribute the awkwardness to that playing just being weird for her. Right, right.
Like one giant screenplay.
But it's crazy how close he came, because it was like she was about to tell him she was in love with him and then found that, and wow.
My heart was a little broken for him. Like, he just seemed so broken, and I wanted him to win. Yeah. You know, like, it seemed harmless until the end. Yeah, right. Wow, he's cray-cray.
Yeah, like, he was for real.
But this would be a really awesome screenplay.
I agree.
It would be awesome. So I wrote down chapter, well, actually, I don't know. It says track, so I don't really know where that is in the actual book. But the first half of life is pure selfishness. The second half of life is all grief. Yeah. When I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's a bar. Because that is so true. Like, you know, in the beginning, you're just all about me, 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 me. And then kind of like in the second half is like you would just start losing things left and right, feels like. Yeah. And not even losing things like people, but just like yourself, children get older, like it's just so much more sadness.
Yeah.
Just,
that line hit me too, but I was like, damn, it's not all grief. Like, it's a lot, but it's not all grief. But
yeah,
it is a powerful line for sure.
it is. Where he talks about your character determines your fate, and your character is forged in childhood. And then shortly after, he talks about the part with the therapist, where the therapist is talking about when a child is young and afraid, ashamed and humiliated, time stops and freezes in your mind. A frightened child is hiding inside your head, and the sooner you get in touch with that child...
But she could be brutal too.
Oh. I didn't realize... Oh, gosh.
Does it read your note?
For a long time.
It's reading the part where I bookmarked.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know it did that.
Okay.
So now I just lost my thing. But yeah, that was a bar.
Do you believe that?
I do. It in a way, I think that it's a good way to kind of describe childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as an actual person that you have to nurture and keep safe and protect and kind of show it's okay. You know, and I think that's a good way to kind of describe getting into a place where you can let things go.
Yeah.
You know, not that it's ever going to go away. It's still there, but if you nurture, it makes it easier.
Yeah, he spoke a lot about his inner child, and I think obviously everyone has an inner child. Maybe things that scared you when you were younger still scare you now, but you've learned different ways to cope with it. You've learned ways to deal with it, and like that is your responsibility as an adult, is to learn how to deal with it in the most healthy way possible.
Correct.
But
because ignoring it and suppressing it is not healthy.
Which is why it's almost like with the Lana situation, I know that he loved her, but it seemed more of an infatuation than a true love.
He was obsessed with her.
She was like his saving grace as a child when he was being bullied and would go see her in movies, and they're about the same age. And I can imagine the first time he saw her at that party must have been like...
just awestruck.
And she had no idea the impact that she had on him. So.
Right. And then also for him to find out that it didn't mean anything to her. Like, that wasn't a good memory for her of everything that he put on a pedestal. And she's like, well, that's really not who I am. And I actually hate all of that. And he's like, no, don't say that.
Right.
Because without that, you know, the whole facade goes away.
Exactly.
You know, so they were each playing a role. But he definitely, like, yeah. It was so good.
Did you see the twist with Jason and Kate? Like, were you surprised when you found out they were having an affair?
Yeah. Well, no. I feel like it was kind of predictable in a way. Like, not in, oh yeah, I knew it was going to happen, but I'm not surprised. I think for me, I didn't really understand in the beginning why he was so rude to her. Like, what are you doing here?
That was immediately what I thought.
Yeah, and I was like, okay.
Right.
No wonder.
Yeah.
Like, you were just putting on a show.
Yeah. I agree with you. Like, I don't think it was very foretelling, but when he was so rude to her when he first saw her, like, what are you doing here with us?
Why would he treat her best friend like that?
I was like, oh, y'all got something going on, and you being messy right now.
Yeah. Cover up.
Yeah.
Yeah. The ending where they all turned on him, I was just like, where they started beating him up.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for him. Like, even though he was dead wrong, the level, I guess because the whole time you just see this broken person who's doing his best to be a better person, and just trying to be with this person that he loves. The level of betrayal in that moment to realize that everyone was in on this.
Right.
And then, like, beating him up. I was just like, no, he's trying, y'all. And then you just find out all this messy stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, I thought it was so well written, and very many nods, a lot of nods to The Silent Patient in that. And I know that you haven't, right? You said you're not going to read that book, right?
I probably am not, now that I know the ending.
Yeah. So it's very similar to it in the fact of, remember when he said when he was basically what they did to him, like got him on his knees and made like that happened to him when he was younger.
Okay.
So
right, with the bullies.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's very similar to the silent patient. What happened with her, why she murdered her husband, was because of something that happened to her in a similar situation, you know, when she was younger. And then it's so funny too, the other nod that they had to the silent patient when he was speaking with his therapist and she was saying, yeah, there's another guy, Theo, here. And then he's like, oh, he's a therapist. And she's like, he's an inmate. That's the guy from the silent patient. And it wasn't until I finished the book.
Wait, is this the same author?
Yes. Yes.
Oh.
The Silent Patient was his first novel, and this is his I think The Silent Patient was his first one, and he also has something called The Maidens too. I don't know where that falls in this. So don't yeah. But I remember finishing the book and just kind of, you know, you try to tie up loose ends.
Yeah.
And I was like, who is that guy Theo that they mentioned? And then I was like, oh, Theo is the therapist.
Because when she was like, yeah, he's a former colleague of mine, you should talk to him. I was just like, this is so random. Like,
yeah,
this doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you spend time talking to this therapist about her colleague instead of recapping, like, where are they now?
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I guess then you really should read the other one first, because for me, it meant nothing to me.
That is the only thing. And then, like I said, the storyline kind of, in terms of the childhood thing, something happening in childhood and then it happening again as an adult, in terms of going back to the beginning and retelling the story and adding in things. So there are some parallels like that. But
oh, and The Silent Patient, he kind of did that too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's similar in that way, but it's not like a sequel into where you can't, obviously you enjoyed the book and never read The Silent Patient. So, no, but yeah, there were some parallels there.
Interesting.
So, the things I wrote down as far as likes were the nod to The Silent Patient. And I said the narrator grew on me. How the narrator spoke to the audience, all things I've already mentioned. I appreciated the narrator's backstory. I think they did a good job of establishing Elliot and who he was before he became Elliot Chase and why he became Elliot Chase. It's almost like instead of dealing with his demons, he just said, I'm just going to change myself into someone else.
Right.
And kind of latched on to Lana to help him create this thing of himself.
But his true self was just still in there regardless of
and I think
how much he tried.
Barbara knew who his true self was and she took advantage of that.
Yes. Big time.
She exploited it.
Yep.
And it's like, you can pretend to be whoever you want from these other people, but like, I know who you really are. And I love the overall plot. I've never read a murder mystery of the whole bunch of people trapped on an island and who did it. This is the first of reading something like that for me. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good read. I'm glad we picked that book.
The only other thing I already said, I would have liked more details on Barbara West's murder and then more details on what everyone did after he shot Lana.
Same.
Because that's just like classic story. Like a person is really like, you know what? I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to live my life the way I want to. And they have this sense of peace and then they end up getting killed or dying somehow.
Yeah. I would have loved to know, did Kate and Jason get together after that? Did Theo become an actor? You know, what happened to the housekeeper and the caretaker of the island?
Nikos, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to know, like, where are they now?
I agree.
But, I mean, if he has a habit of referencing, like, having these little Easter eggs, I'd wonder if in some of these other books there are character crossover.
Yeah, there
like,
could be.
very slight. You know, that if you read it, you'd just kind of be like, eh. Like me, or if you'd read more books, you know, you'd start to actually get a whole nother story. Yeah. That's cool.
This was a good pick.
Yeah,
I'm glad
it was
we did.
a good pick.
Yeah.
Aside from The Fury, I have a book recommendation that I want to make.
Okay.
To the besties and to you. In my handy dandy reading journal. It is called Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. So the genre is YA mystery, and I listened to the audiobook. It was about 10 and a half hours.
Okay.
The 390 pages, so a little bit longer than The Fury.
Okay.
And it was recommended by Book Talk. It's so good.
Book Talk's been coming through with some good recommendations.
So good. The book summary is Mary B. Addison killed a baby. Period.
All right.
Mic drop. It was an incredible listen.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it written in present day?
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so good.
That sounds good. All
It's
right.
got a lot of twists and turns. You're constantly feeling some type of way, and yeah, I don't want to spoil any of it. Go read it or listen to it. It was awesome.
I need to get more into my suspense bag because these suspense books I've been reading have been delivering.
Yes.
But I still venture towards my,
Maggie's always trying to fix it.
self-help happiness. On that score, I'm currently reading, it's not a new book, but it's called The Magic of Thinking Big. And it's been recommended by a lot of different celebrities and things like that, just how to change your mindset to a more positive thing. Basically, like, if you believe it, you can achieve it type of thing. One thing that I saw, and I'm still reading it, but another, like a cool thing that it says is like how your mind is like this amazing thought factory. And it gave you like a little test just to see. So if you say, it's a great day outside, your mind will automatically start to think of reasons why it's a great day. Oh, it's sunny, it's breezy, it's this, it's that. But if you say, man, I'm having a shitty day, your mind will automatically find reasons of like why it's bad. So just try to think positively and like positive thoughts will come type of thing. I enjoy it, but it's not a page turner.
Okay.
So it's, I'd like to finish it. It's something that's been on my bookshelf for over a year. And you and I talked about, we really want to make sure that we enjoy a book before we purchase it.
Right.
And so I'm actually going through my bookshelf now and kind of like reading everything, weeding out. And yeah, I enjoy it, but it's not like I can't wait to read it type of thing. So
gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a recommendation. I'm just saying that's what I'm reading right now.
That's cool.
Outside of our book club. Yeah.
Awesome. So, besties, I hope that you enjoyed The Fury as much as we did. We had a great time listening to it. Again, listen to it or read it, whichever you prefer and whatever you have time for. This is a safe space, and we don't judge.
Nope, not at all.
Consuming content is consuming content.
Let us know if you read The Silent Patient, too.
Yeah, and if you picked up on that little Easter egg. Yeah, the reviews that I see, it's kind of like you love it or you hate it.
They're so mixed.
Yeah.
One guy was like bashing Crawdad, like every book that I thought was great.
Wow.
It's like, wow, I don't know if I can question. And people were commenting and just saying, I don't trust your judgment. He's like, everyone likes different things. What else can you say to that? Everyone does like different things.
What did he name some of the things that he did like?
No, that one was just like basically overrated books. And yeah, it was Crawdads. He said The Help he thought was overrated.
Yeah.
Like a lot of really good books that I thought was good. Yeah. So
yeah, suspense is my bag right now. So besties, the next book that we are going to read will be Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. We know that we're a little late to the party.
A little bit.
But at least for me, I'm not sure about Maggie, I don't know anything about the book. Like, I knew that there was hype about this book called Gone Girl, but I don't know anything about the book.
That's the extent of my knowledge of it, too.
Okay.
I think there's a movie on it.
I'm not sure.
Or is that The Girl on the Train that there's a movie on?
There is a movie about the girl on the train.
Okay.
So, but I don't know.
I am probably mixing those two up, so I'm just going to say all I know is that Gone Girl was a very popular book, and I'm excited to read it.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if there is a movie, we haven't watched it. We don't know spoilers or anything like that, which I'm very glad that we didn't get any spoilers.
I agree.
Considering how much hype was about this book. But that will be the book that we're going to read for our next book club, which will be the end of December. And we cannot wait to see you there.
Yes, we will catch you on the couch at that book club.
Exactly. All right, besties. We will see you in the next